Hey everybody, you're watching Ready Set Drone, and this is the latest version of Mokwheel's Scoria cruiser bike. We're gonna check it out, so stay tuned. So first of all, I want to start by saying thank you to Mokwheel for providing the Scoria for our review. We have done a lot of Mokwheel bikes and find that if you are buying a e-bike these days, be careful who you buy from. Mokwheel is a reputable company and they seem to make really good bikes, including this one. This is the latest version of the Scoria. Now the Scoria is a step-through bike that has 20 by 4-inch tires. That's a little bit smaller tire, but wide, fat tires. It's got a combination torque and cadence sensor. It also has a lot of little extras on it that are kind of cool. It's got this luggage rack on the back, which I think is kind of a neat touch. If you wanted to put a milk crate or something like that on it for cargo, or maybe put a passenger back there, I think you could do that all day long because it's got a 350-pound capacity overall on the bike. So if you weigh 220 pounds, say, then you've got another 130 pounds of capacity you can put on it, including cargo and passengers and whatever else. It's got Shimano shifters with 8 gears. And you can pretty easily shift because they're right here next to your right hand. And what gear you're in will make a big difference in when the sensor activates. So as you're riding, if you're in an easier gear, the sensor won't activate as much because it doesn't feel any tension. But if you're in a higher and harder gear, it'll activate more. I like to keep it right in the middle because I feel like that's kind of the perfect balance. It's got a 750 watt motor on the back. And again, it's a combination cadence and torque sensor. To be honest, I don't exactly understand what the combination cadence torque sensor means. It's supposed to be kind of the best of both worlds. Just so you know, a cadence sensor gives you power no matter how fast you're pedaling. Basically, if you're in pedal assist 1, as soon as you start pedaling, it'll give you all the power of pedal assist 1 and stay there until you stop pedaling. Whereas a torque sensor is more in touch with how you're pedaling, how fast you're pedaling, and generally gives you a smoother ride. I have found this bike to be very smooth when you first start pedaling, which is nice because some other bikes with just a cadence sensor tend to kind of take off and lurch as soon as you start pedaling. This one gives you a smooth transition from stopped to going. It also has a throttle on it. Generally, I'm not a big fan of throttles, but you can feather this throttle a little bit by pushing it part way down, which gives you a smooth start over rocky terrain, or if you just need to get going and get a little momentum before you start pedaling. Going to check out the acceleration using the throttle only. It is kind of nice to have a throttle in situations where you don't have a lot of momentum and you want to get going. So I'm in pedal assist 1 and here's full throttle. Pretty smooth. Let's see if it's any different in pedal assist 5. So I think it's actually just the same. This bike has a very upright stance, and by that I mean I'm sitting up pretty straight, I'm not hunched over, and you can adjust that by where you put the handlebars, but generally I like this upright stance. It's comfortable for riding distances, it's comfortable for riding just around town, but it's not very aggressive and you're not going to ride very fast this way. It has kind of a prim and proper feel, like I'm on a Surrey or a buggy in, Old England. The Scoria has 5 levels of pedal assist, which is pretty common for this kind of e-bike. Each one gives you a little bit more power. However, they don't necessarily take off any faster. So pedal assist 1 takes off at the same speed as pedal assist 5. And it's the same thing with overall power. It's not really giving you more power, it's giving you more speed. So going up a hill, you might find that you'll get the same result if you're using the throttle in pedal assist 1 as you do in pedal assist 5. I like this spot to test bikes because it has a nice little down. It's flat here, it's pretty also. But then you've got this fairly steep up. And what's nice about this torque sensor is it makes it pretty easy to climb up it without a whole lot of effort, but it's responding to your pedaling. So if you were on a bike, just a normal bike without any motor, it would probably be a lot harder to go up that hill at that slow speed. One interesting test is to see how the bike does throttle only going up a fairly steep hill. So I'm in pedal assist 1 and I'm gonna just use the throttle and see if it'll take me up this hill without any pedaling. So here we go. And also no momentum because I'm right at the bottom of the hill and I'm sitting still. So here we go. Yeah, it was gonna stall. I had to pedal. That was pedal assist 1. Now let's try it in pedal assist 5. Okay, cranking it up to pedal assist 5. And here's the throttle. Nope, it's gonna need me to pedal. Now in fairness, that is a steep hill and there's only one motor on this bike. We did this with another bike that had dual motors and it couldn't make it up with just one motor either. It had to have both motors on to make it up the hill. But for general cruising, and as long as you're actually pedaling and helping the bike out, you can easily make it up fairly steep hills. So should you need to walk your bike for any reason, maybe it's rough terrain, whatever, this bike does have a walk mode. You just hold down the minus button, which also has a little picture of a walker on it, and you hold it down for about 3 seconds, and then it starts going. And that's great for going up a hill like this. And then as soon as you let go, it stops. It's a little fast to keep up with, so you can see if I hold it down, it kind of takes off on you. And so not really something you might use on a flat surface like this, but for uphill, it's great. One of the things I've had to get used to, I've mountain biked for a long time, and most mountain bikes don't have a kickstand. A lot of these e-bikes I've been riding recently do have kickstands, and I've become a fan of the kickstand. I was never a fan of the kickstand before, but it is so handy to be able to just pop it down. It's very solid feeling, and as long as you keep it tight, it does a good job of holding up the bike. This bike, because it is an e-bike and it does have the fatter tires, it also has hydraulic disc brakes with plenty of stopping power, which is very nice and essential. It has a headlight and a brake light, so when you pull on the brakes, the brake light lights up, which gives the people behind you some warning that you're gonna stop. It's nice to have those little bit of signals, especially if you're riding on a road. I really like these ergonomic grips. Mokwheel has put these on several of their bikes and they're really comfortable. They've got kind of a gel on the inside here and they just feel good on your hands and they give it a nice little classic touch with the leather. Speaking of classic touches, a friend of mine saw this bike yesterday and said it looked like a retro bike. And I think he was right. A little bit of it has that beach cruiser look with the tan sidewalls on the wheels and kind of the color and the tone. It almost reminds me of like, I don't know, the 1950s, but with a lot more tech on it. This bike has a front fork with a shock in it. There's no rear suspension, but because the tires are so big and also fat at 4 inches, it's very, very smooth to ride even without a rear shock. I wouldn't take this over super rocky terrain, but just riding on the roads or up and down a few curbs, it's not a big deal, and the front fork shock actually really helps. This seat is very easily adjustable with this quick release, and for somebody my height, around 6'1", this is great because I can set it to a height that feels good for me, but if somebody who's smaller wants to ride it, they can lower it, and the quick release is key. Always look for a bike with a quick release seat. And as far as the seat and the stem and the quick release goes, it's all great because it's very adjustable and this seat is super comfortable. It's got a 48-volt battery, and this battery is supposed to give you up to about 80 miles of range. Now I haven't tested the range, and that's gonna be very dependent on how hilly it is, how much you're pedaling, what pedal assist mode you're in, etc. 80 is gonna be the ideal situation. So plan on somewhere between 40 and 60 realistically. But it is a decent amount of range. Most people aren't going out cruising on a bike like this for 40 to 60 miles anyway. So as long as you have it fully charged before you go, there shouldn't be any reason you run out of battery. The battery is removable, and I have learned from experience that if you're planning to store this bike in a garage or a shed where it's going to be really hot or really cold, pull the battery out and store it inside, because you don't want that battery sitting out in the heat. Really, you don't want anything sitting out in the heat, but the bike by itself is going to do a lot better than if you leave the battery in it. That will shorten your battery life considerably. Also, it is pretty easy to charge. There's a little port on the side. You just plug it in. When your charger has a red light, that means it's charging, and when the light on the charger turns green, that means it's fully charged. It does come in several colors. This is what they call dark blue. I like this color a lot. Again, it has kind of a retro feel to me. You know, feels like a car or a bowling ball from the 1950s with that little bit of shine to it. The price point is right in the middle range for an e-bike. I think right now it's going for $1,799 US. I don't know if that's going to change from when this video was made, but around $1,800. So an e-bike of good quality is usually going to be more than $1,000. If you see an e-bike for $700 or $800, I would be really suspicious. But $1,500 to $2,000 gets you a pretty nice e-bike, and that's where this bike sits in terms of pricing. If you're looking for a mid-priced e-bike that's in that $1,500 to $2,000 range, the Scoria is a good option. I really do believe that Mokwheel is a good company. They seem to take their customer service very seriously, and every bike I've had from them, which has been several now, have been great bikes, and the Scoria is right up there. It's the kind of bike that you would just cruise around on, and definitely would be good for somebody with limited mobility because of the low step through and the fact that it's a little smaller and easier to manage. What do you think about the Scoria and e-bikes in general? Leave a comment below. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on Ready, Set, Drone. That was very elegant.
Yeah, thank you.
Switching the shoes to sport mode. There we go. Sweet.